250 action.
What chance does a privateer have?
Welcome to Supercross.
What do you say to a factory ride?
So the guy that I was probably most impressed with is Craig. He seems to me like he's coming up with this more of an FU attitude, where he's not trying to be just the super calm and careful rider. He's tired of getting pushed around.
You're talking to your doctor, just tell him you have a spiral fracture of the left radius.
No!
Deep breath.
I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. No, he didn't put himself in a precarious situation where he needed to defend himself, but just his demeanor seems as if he's going, dude, I'm here to race motorcycles and back the fuck off. So, want to give it up to Craig. Next person is obviously Jett. Jett is a generational talent.
McLovin? McLovin?
The dude reminds me so much of Stewart as a young kid because he's very personable, he's outgoing, well-spoken, and the dude is incredibly talented and fast, but he puts himself on his head a lot because he probably would win a lot more races if he didn't crash himself. Not to mention taking out some other people as well. You know, he's still learning, right? It's experience that's going to give him the expertise on how to manage a championship, manage some wins, somebody like a Tomac, for instance. And it's going to be really cool seeing how his career plays out because he's got so many opportunities in front of him. Him joining with AJ with the little app to help other riders out with his name. But there is that caveat that with all of that attention, he needs to have good people around him to steer him in the right direction so he doesn't make silly mistakes like a Lawrence or
Comes great responsibility.
Izzy or some of these other riders, right? Forkner, coming back, super impressed with him. Coming out, winning the heat race, doesn't look like he's totally up to going hardcore for the full, basically 20 minutes, right? It's only 15 minutes, but it's just plus 2 laps, you know? That's quite a bit of time on that type of a track. And unfortunately, I gotta say it that his time is kind of past. You look at Stewart, you look at Carmichael, you look at McGrath. When you are the man, it's very fleeting. You can do everything you can to keep up with it. The whole compound effect. People are coming after you. And eventually the progression just keeps getting booming, booming. Not saying that he will never win a championship. I just say that the probability is dwindling for him. He seems as if he's turning more into like a Kennard, where you've got this incredibly talented rider, even though Kennard did win a championship in the 250 class. Injuries and bad luck kind of just put you out of the game, right? It's almost, we're seeing it a little bit with AC, where the dude is incredibly fast and his time is just sitting right there, right there. He can still make it happen. You know, like he got a lot of things taken away from him in the 250 class by just dumb luck. And it sucks, but that's what's part of this sport, is sometimes you've got riders that are just incredibly lucky. Not saying that they don't work their ass off, because they do, but they're incredibly lucky that they don't have that one major mishap that just sends everything in a spiral, and it takes 2 years to come back, because 2 years in this sport is a lifetime. You know, if you miss one weekend, there's some guy last weekend, the next week, he thinks, hey, I can beat you now because you're off your game.
You suck! You suck, you jackass!
But if you compound that by 2 years, it's incredibly difficult. When it comes to these whole shootouts with the points, I'd like to see the heat races essentially give bonus points for maybe the top 3, the winner, to kind of make their championship a little bit more advantageous for that heat race, right? Because it's essentially a main event. It's just a very condensed, short race, but it's the East and the West. It'd give them a little bit more mojo. It'd add a little bit more drama into the storyline, but don't officially give them the full 26 points, because that needs to be obtained in the shootout. Because if you do that in the heat race, well, you're going to have riders that say, no, I'm not going to show up, because we've had that happen at the East-West shootouts before, in like Vegas before, where they do have the points for their basically main events, and then they don't go race the shootout because they're like, why the F bother? I already got my points, like, fuck this, I'm not gonna risk getting hurt, because the majority of us like to ride motorcycles and race because it's fun. It's that meditation, right? You forget about everything else. At the elite level, it's a little bit different because you have to ride so incredibly just on point, and the guy next to you is willing to let it all hang out, and so you have to let it all hang out. I'm not saying that these guys can't ride and be comfortable letting it all hang out, but just the probability of failure, catastrophic failure, goes through the roof when you're riding over the edge. And that's how these guys have to race these motorcycles. So given the chance, that's why they don't like the Triple Crown, because of how much more racing and how much more time that they have to spend on the edge. Last one is Max Vohland. East Coast, he's got a 5-year deal with KTM. He didn't qualify for the night show, even getting into the heat races, right? Because the East-West Shootout, they only took like the top 20 for those heat races, because it was basically qualifying for the main event, which was your heat race. Digressing. It's a bummer. Kid, talented kid. Everyone is looking on the spotlight for him. He needs to have good people around him, because Marcus Aurelius said that success, accept it without arrogance, and failure, let it go with indifference. Because ultimately, this is going to be a pivotal point for him, which is going to make him or break him. And he needs to have people around him and the confidence to have it make him, not break him. Keep your head up, keep digging, and keep it WFO. But what da 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 ya 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 ya